Good evening, Thando Channel Book Club lovers. My name is Selina Zigomo, and I am here with yet another amazing African female author. And we are here today, and it's a pre-recorded session, but your comments are still welcome live. So let us know where you're watching from. And in the studio, we've got Olivia Bolah, and she will be talking to us about her 3 books, and in particular, the book Life in a Brodie. How are you, Olivia? Welcome.
Thank you, Selina, for having me today. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So, book club lovers, I love to start every show with a quote from a powerful African female author. And today, I have chosen a quote from Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and the quote is this: I am a strong believer in the ability of human beings to change for the better. I am a strong believer in trying to change what we are dissatisfied with. And I think Olivia's body of work speaks greatly to that. For those of you who do not know who Olivia is, let me tell you a little bit about her before we begin today's interview. Olivia Bolah Joseph Aluko is an inspirational writer, speaker, who has contributed to a few academic journals and written a few articles in local magazines and blogs. An author and a grassroots social justice advocate and lawyer with a background, knowledge, and experience of migration and ethnic minority studies. She was born in Islington, North London, to Professor and Mrs. Olajide Aluko, and Olivia returned with her parents to Nigeria later, where she completed her education and graduated with an LLB in law. Following this, she later on returned to the UK, where she continued to pursue her career in a supporting role within the justice sector. Owing to her interest in ethnic minorities-related studies, Olivia obtained an admission to the Queen's Mary University, London, where she got her master's in migration and law. Olivia, whose birth name is Mobolantle Bolah, oscillates between writing and academia, community participation, which is no doubt surprising. Olivia released her first book, Africans in the UK Migration Integration and Significance, in 2016, which she sold and distributed within the community. She then went on to create her second edition of the book, titled Migration, Integration and Sustainability, and made this particular edition available to a broader audience. So you can actually check that out online. And recently she has written and published Life in a Brodie. So what is Life in a Brodie about? Let me give you a brief synopsis. Akon and Lara had worked hard to build their careers and raise a young family in their native Nigeria. An accomplished manager and lawyer respectively, both on the cusp of success, they decided to escape the problem of insecurity and pursue greater opportunities abroad. Confident that their love would sustain them, Akon left his wife and young son to set up their new home in the UK. Despite our best intentions, life seldom gives us what we want. The struggle to thrive in a foreign country amidst different cultures can either make or break you. This migrating couple would need all the love, faith, and hope they can muster to face life's often unkind, painful, and unexpected challenges. Add to this knowing secrets that have the power to tear them apart, the strain of surviving as immigrants in a new land would become nearly unbearable. Follow Akon and Lara's journey across the globe as they inch towards their desired future. This novel contains a smattering of local languages, reflecting the cultural diversity of the characters in the story. So welcome, Olivia. So please tell us how you started writing and what led to this particular book, which is in a different style from your other 2 books, which are more academic.
Yeah, thank you once again, Selina, for the overview of the book Life in a Brodie. Right, I hear that question every time. Why did you start writing? Just like you'd ask someone, why did you start singing? Well, I started writing at a young age. When I say young age, I'm talking about 5, scribbling, paper scribbling prints, so my creativity has been there since the time I was young. But the kind of environment that I had, pushed me into the legal profession instead of journalism or studying mass communication, because my parents wouldn't have me study mass communication. They would rather me study law. And in those days, you're not encouraged to just take up courses yourself. Remember, my inner education, secondary and university, the first degree, I had it in Africa, and we didn't have diverse, fields of discipline the way we have nowadays, that things have changed. So fast forward to what I started writing. When I started writing, I actually thought I was going to sing because I was interested in both. I'm sure my audience would be shocked. I was thinking that, by the age of 25, I would have an album, but it didn't work out. I find out that my skills were better off in writing, and people told me that. Now, my first book was written 2016 after, like I said, spent my time doing a whole lot of things. And I kept on saying to myself that one day I would write, one day I would write. And I started my writing experience on Facebook, to be honest, releasing daily nuggets, and I kept on getting the encouragement and from different kinds of people that, oh my God, I wish you could write a book. Oh my God, I wish you could write. But then it took someone who said, you know what, I'm going to hold your hand to make sure that you write that book. And here we are. I had my first book, nothing more structured. Because what I did was that I turned my, what's it called? My dissertation into reading, did a little bit of research, and that was how my first book was launched. And it went on well because, people got it, it resonated with them. Then I went for my second one, which is, I think I sent you that, Globalization, Human Security, and Social Cohesion. That one went on well. But there were two sides. I had feedback from people like, you know what, too many references. I wish you could just make it simple. I wish you could this, I wish you could that. The funniest thing was that I actually wanted to write a novel right from the onset. But I found myself going into the globalization, just doing the academic aspect of it. So I just said to myself, why don't I turn this into a story that diverse kinds of people, and ages can identify with? Because we all love stories. We identify stories. We go to the cinemas because of stories. We visit theaters because of stories. A lot of the times we talk to our friends. We go to clubs, our religious places because, stories. So I said, okay, you know what? Why don't I turn this into a story? And I started working on it. It wasn't an easy journey because it's like my first one, almost 500 pages, about 492. To be precise, it wasn't. But eventually, based on the feedback that I got, I find out that it did resonate with different kinds of people, those back home, different kinds of ages. I've had two elderly people, and when I say people, over the age of 70, finish and read this book. In fact, yeah, back home. So it's like, because it transcends not just life in the Brodie. And to all our viewers, Brodie is just a slang for abroad. Life abroad, hygiene, cultural clash, career changes, different languages, so we understand that, yes, we hear, negative narratives about migrants, but I tell you what, they're not grasshoppers. They're not invaders. Some of them are much more qualified than the jobs they end up doing in a lot of the Western nations. And have a read on this book would actually, make you understand that the reasons why people come in and why they need to be supported to progress in their career.
Definitely. So I found that the life in a Brodie was definitely a different style, and I did take some time to go into globalization, integration, and sustainability, and really understand, I think the history from an academic point of view. And I know that people might have said that there were too many references and it was too academic, but I found that very, very interesting especially because we're talking about this, I think, a month after getting into Black History Month, which is something you start off the preceding book to this one discussing about. We are making all of these strides to really start to acknowledge African history in all of its holistic nature. So not just colonialism, not just the slave trade, but all of it. So from early Africans in the West all the way to today, and giving a holistic picture about migration policies so that we can fully understand this issue and really where the contributions have been made, and just understanding, just I think giving a more fullness to the Black narrative. And then you take us in Life in a Brodie to Aiken and Lara, and you use their marriage relationship, you use their dreams and aspirations with very vivid pictures of Nigeria and pictures of London, UK, and pictures of different immigrants. So you get to see Akon at home, but you also get to see him, in this other place with people from home, and what that looks like, and the differences and the privileges that are seen between the different two things. So I found that very, very interesting. And it almost worked. I think you've almost, if you want to really get the full picture, read both books. That's what I would say. I think you owe it to yourself to read the full story, because there's a lot of work you put in the first, it's actually the second edition of the first book. And then this fictional narrative that now paints a picture and hones in on this couple story, their family story, but all of the people they encounter bring out different aspects of all of the points and things that you give us in the history in the other book. So I really, really appreciated that. But let's dive into what it was like when this book was released. So people were like, oh, the other books are too academic. Then they're like, you finally give them what they want, something that helps crystallize all of those things that you were talking about. What has the impact been in terms of Life in a Brodie? Are people accepting it? Are people pleasantly surprised? Are you pleasantly surprised by how people are receiving it?
Well, put it this way, am I pleasantly surprised? Well, yes, Outlaw. Like, remember I did say to you that people love stories, and that is what we do. I mean, they say that if you want to win anyone's attention, personalize it. So people want something that they can identify with. Life in a Brodie, compared to the other one, which it's a fiction of like the two books, which I did say, combined together. I mean, it includes, betrayal, it includes forgiveness, it includes romance, it includes, mafias, different diverse kinds of things that do happen to ordinary people, no matter where you are placed in the society. It includes, I mean, there's a guy that didn't know how to spend money and he ended up being in trouble, you know what I mean? So, and these are the things that do happen to people, not naturally. And concerning if I was surprised, yes, because I kept on getting feedback from people. In fact, I remember the first two people, it's like, you know what, you need to turn this into it's an adaptation. You need to turn it into either a TV series, you need to turn it into a movie, you need to do this, it came up like that, because it's like, oh, when I started reading it, I thought I was watching a movie, which it's quite interesting. I mean, I just put pen to paper and I just wrote, and to hear such, feedback, it's quite encouraging. What I do with when I get books reviews, what I do is I do a book launch. And the book launch I do, I invite, different people, rather in the politics, friends, family, to just come in, to just hearing. I get panel speakers, I get MC, we get food, we get to dance, we get to, raise, money for that. And that's been a pattern with my books. And even though there was COVID last year, but I think, the book happened in a time where we had a little window to actually have social. So I was able to physically launch the book. I wanted to do an hybrid one, at the time, but it didn't work out well. So what I did was I had the online, pre-launch, which is on my website and on YouTube, I think. And then I had the physical meeting. So I had panel speakers, I had book reviews, and it's all about the same thing. Some are like, oh, it's too, God, well, too many pages. When would I read it? I had about, two different people that traveled, during the summer. It's like, you know what? This is what I'm reading in the plane. And they just sent me a photograph, which is quite good. Some stayed in their garden to have a read, some read in the night. So, and the feedback is quite positive that, and it's like, oh, these are things that even if it's not us, we know people that can identify, with the young people that are there, with the training, with the racism, with, micromanagement at work, different things, a migration scare, a whole load of other things, or people, much more, people coming over from African countries, and it also affects Asian countries. Once you come in over, you find out that even with your degree, you still have to go lower a lot of the times, down the bottom before you can, get to where you are. It is common, some generally make it. There are some don't, and they just move on. So it's the feedback has been positive. If you check Amazon, some have been able to put it down, but a whole lot of people that have the books have not bothered to put in a review. But from what they've said, putting a review on Amazon, but some of them have sent me, emails to say, you know what, I'm looking forward to the second novel. Well done. So I think that is it about now.
Thank you so much for that. I think what will be interesting is to see, we would like to encourage our readers, if you're going to take a look for Life in a Brodie, you can look for Life in a Brodie on Amazon. It's available online, as well as Olivia's previous books. And you can actually put up a review on Goodreads, and that will appear on Amazon. So let's get a little bit into the book, Life in a Brodie. So we've got Akon, who's one of the main characters, who carries us through the story. And one of the things he says at the beginning of the story is, every migrant has a story. And like we've been talking about how the stories, when you personalize something, the issues become more crystallized, they become clearer to see and to understand. So now when we're looking at Akon, one of the things that struck me is at the beginning, he's so full of hope and optimism, and he is so confident in his personal choices and his ability to make different choices to have different outcomes, which almost makes him naive to some of the challenges he does have to face, which, as you mentioned earlier, starting from the bottom to rebuild your life. How did you come up with the character Akon? And how was he based on people that you've come across in your own migrant experiences, because you've spent time in the UK as a migrant as a child, and then later on as an adult?
Yeah, right. Thank you. How did I come about it? Like I said, it's a combination of different people, including myself. By the time I returned back to this country as an adult, I was already a qualified solicitor and barrister of the Supreme Court in Nigeria. I had already, was running my own law firm, getting my own cases before I came into the UK. But just like any other country, the economy collapsed and the jobs were not coming. So at the time I came, it was like, you know what? Well, that law may not necessarily work out for you. Maybe you should go abroad. Everybody is doing IT. This is the age of the technocrats. Why don't you just go try that luck? So I came abroad, and believe you me, I tried it. I saw a lot of my colleagues in the legal profession, accountants, the medical profession, everybody was going into IT. I tried to go into IT. I didn't make it. I didn't make it not because they didn't call me for an interview. I couldn't even understand what I'm reading. I am not, I knew that, what, even if, being into IT is going to make me a millionaire, I am going to be in trouble because I couldn't get it. Because I know sciences and maths, we are not friends. So trying to struggle, this is the statistics, moving to that one, and then this one, I know, what, you've confused me. I couldn't get it. So I went to do a paralegal course, and at the time I was doing, I had people telling me that, you know what, oh, you think all of us that are here, we don't know what it is that we are doing. They said, oh, you want to come here to be a lawyer? Who are you? When all of us are cleaning, we don't even know any Black person doing that and stuff like that. And when I look back, everybody was, the male ones were either doorkeepers, these ones were, and these are people that were professionals were at the bottom. But I was like, I can't just imagine myself. But it didn't work out, even though I did it. But the criteria for even entering into it was not, obviously you've got bills to pay. So started, working in a shop, did a little bit of, support work then before I get into the civil service. And I find out when I look at, a whole lot of people were there. And, the breakthrough for a lot of people is that some people were able to go into that IT, use it as a springboard to branch into other courses or do their professional exams in different ways and change their narrative. Yeah, and I would say that, compared to the 80s and the 90s, I would say that Black professionals, I don't want to talk more about the Asians because there are different kinds of Asians. There are Indians who, when our parents took us back to Africa, they stayed. And many of them became doctors, ophthalmologists, dentists, and into the medical profession, and were able to pass this over to their children who studied the same thing. Now, the story of the Bangladesh and Pakistan are two different things because I haven't investigated into that. But what I can say about, a lot of Black Africans is the fact that, they come in, with their professions, some of them were already qualified teachers, that they come in, they look at it, that, you know what, I can't teach in this kind of environment. I don't have the temperament where a child will tell me what it is that they do. Back in Africa, you tell children what they do. But here, children have to tell you what they need you to do. So some of them look at it that, wait, I don't want to get into trouble with the system. It's not going to work with me. And so they just change their profession. Remember what I said at the earlier stage, that in those days, in our university setup, we didn't have, diverse kinds of, subjects or even lecturers that could take different ones. By the time you come abroad, you find out that, oh, there are different things you want to do. So people change their jobs, not because they are forced to. Back in Africa, a lot of us studied the courses that we studied because we were forced to by our parents. But then when the time we come here, you find out, you know what? Oh, so I can become an actor. Then I go into theater arts, go into filmmaking, go into the profession that I always wanted to be, that's on in my inside, and I'm achieving my potentials. So it's about, because even if you look at it, both of them, Lara came in as a lawyer, he came in as an accountant, but at the end of the day, Lara ended up, she switched from being a lawyer to being a social care activist. She changed her whole profession, and a whole lot of us, come in here, we look at it, we take that profession that we want. So that's what happened, taking everything together, just created that picture in my mind, and I was able to bring up Akon and Lara, if that makes sense.
It certainly makes sense. And I think that is one of the aspects in which the story has some redemptive aspects in it, because as you said, there is faith, there is also forgiveness, and new paths when you let go of some of the trappings of your privileges and your identities and how it is you can open up to new possibilities. And I think that's definitely there. And Lara, as you said, is an example of that. And I think just also that there's, as much as the challenges are there, that there's actually a holistic story. It's not all about racism. It's not all about division. It's a journey that is very personal and very individual. You know, one of the things that Akon says at the beginning is, I will do everything in my power to prove you wrong, when he's having a conversation with one of his colleagues, Kay, as they're talking about some of the things you said, where people are highly skilled and they come and they have to start in these so-called menial jobs. But then, as you rightly said, there's the flip side to that, where through the journey, as they're choosing to be made or broken, they can actually choose to be remade into maybe something that's closer to where their heartbeat and their desire and destiny than what was before. And I think obviously that's also captured in your own personal story, because you've got a very strong academic background in law, but there's a lot of social activism, social impact that you've done as a result of that through your migration journey, and then also this journey in writing and becoming inspirational through that aspect of writing. And I think the body of work that you bring in terms of just giving us more fullness and holisticness about migration, that it's not always running away from, but it's running to something. And sometimes the thing you're running to is yourself and your dreams. You know, we haven't always captured that very well in terms of how we've talked about the past. Now, just before we start to wrap up, one of the questions I always ask is about how the journey has been for you as a Black African female in terms of publishing your books. So you've got the first 2 editions with your academic, and then you've got this, which is fiction, which is going to be a springboard, I hope, for more stories, because you've left a lot in there that can still be told. As you know, what was that like for you? Because you self-published, definitely, to break into this field. And were some of those challenges about being a Black migrant one of the drivers behind that decision?
Okay, right. Thank you, Selina. I remember the first book that I published it in person. I gave it out to the community, not give it out, but I launched it within the community as a springboard, but I didn't put that word online. Yeah, but like I said, for my viewers who want to see, I'm just talking, this book is in existence, right? Now, the problem that I had is getting the right editor, because again, I have my full-time job, which had nothing to do with writing. I've got my full-time job, which pay my bills, which had nothing to do with my project. And so getting someone who can, edit it and understanding was an issue. I find out that I've paid, money. So, okay, yes, I can write, I can edit, I can do this, and then find out that no, they didn't work out. And because I had a deadline for this book, I just said, whatever happens, I'm just gonna get this out, edited or not. Of course, it was a bit edited. It wasn't 100% the way I want to. I didn't have enough time to spend on it. So I had different people saying, oh, they could do this. And I found out that, I know Africans, we like to patronize, oh, we don't like ourselves. That is it. We don't trust ourselves. And I wouldn't blame it, because a lot of us have disappointed one another, either in businesses, in different contracts, and, so because of that, we grow wary that, I'm not going to patronize a Black person. I'll rather go to a white lawyer, or I want to go to a white thing. But as good, as well-meaning as a white person is, they really do struggle to understand the Black struggles, the Black dynamics. And the issue of COVID really did, really show that up. Not because they said, we're going to go for the Black people and make sure they don't get the treatment, but understanding our dynamics. So I found that a lot of people, I remember about 3 different, white editors that I understood. They didn't, they changed what I said, the continent of Africa. They changed it to country. They thought Africa was a country. Another one thought Africa was just South Africa. Never knew there was anything like a Nigeria that ever existed. None. They know, yeah, there's a Africa, but they just think, okay, it is South Africa. They never knew it's a continent that has 54, almost 55 countries now. Now, yeah, they also think that, oh, every Black person in Africa is one. So they believe that, yes, you could speak Patois as well as a German can, they believe that, oh, you could speak Afrikaans, you are just speak the same language. They can't understand that even in Nigeria alone, we have an estimated 3,000 languages, not to talk of other diverse areas in Africa. So that was really, a tough one. But with the second one, I was able to get someone, an editor, to work with me, because you need, how would I put it? It's not just about writing and just send it to an editor to do it. You need an editor that understands where you're coming from, so to be able to edit properly. So the one would not delete what should be there. Because, editors just go, oh, like I said, someone thought Africa was a country and then change it. So I was able to get an editor for this other one, but the editor I got wasn't in the UK, was based in the US. And as an experience, I've studied, the person studied ethnicity as a background. So they were able to understand what this book is about, the things that I wrote without, deleting those things. Rather, they added, their views to say, have you considered things and stuff like that? And that is basically what you want, that dialogue with your editor. Now, coming back to this, so this one's, I wouldn't say because, I'm a female. And I would say again, I'm a female in the sense that some other females wanted me to write, oh, you know what, things that female do love, maybe lifestyle and well-being, and write something about a woman, or write something about domestic issues like domestic abuse, or basic things like that, that would things that women do go through. So I said, you know what, that one, we're going to get to that stage, at some point in time. But this is what is in me, let me just get that out and get the message out the best that I can. Because I know myself, I'm not the kind of person that just do things because I just want to do it. Yeah, I tell you what, you see, Kindle, Amazon Kindle will tell you that the best-selling books are romantic books, books on sex, books on it, things like that. But this book, even though it contains, some romantic aspect, but it's not, a romantic book to say, okay, you want to put it in the section for romantic books. No, it's not that. I'm not against romantics. They are good. Some people write fantastic, stories, but that is not what it is. So that's the challenge, that, why are you writing things that, men would normally, why are you bothering with all these kind of things? But because, again, in my academic presentations, I've networked with different kinds of women that are doing great stuff, from women migration, women security, a whole lot of things, the girl child, who have different things, reaching out to widows and, kind of, encourage me that I'm, on the right path. Because you need to know you're on the right path. Because if you listen to voices change every time. Why we take things on board, but you can't just say, okay, yeah, because people said it, you move things, because tomorrow when they change, are you just going to keep on changing? You don't want to keep on just changing like that. You need to have your own message. So I got some life in the Brodie. I can tell you what, you see, the first problem that I had was getting the title right. Yeah, it wasn't, in fact, life in the Brodie was what came to me at the last minute after, a couple of 5 to 6 months trying to get the cover design right, changed cover designers at different points in time. That one is another waste of money because they are not like getting it done. You know what sort of design is this? I'm not even going to pick this up. You know what I mean? So it's like, I did it, in fact, because someone, when I said life in the Brodie, this color, I remember one of the designs came up with, a vampire thief that was so scary. I'm like, you know what? No, this is not a horror novel. You know what I mean? So it was a journey trying to get, the design right, trying to get life in the Brodie right. Like, if you look at the design, you've got Akon here, you've got Lara here, and this is like glasses. They came in here. This is the ceiling. Oh, yes, we are middle class. We've got drivers back home, everyone at our back call. But they came here, they find out that they've got to enter trains, they've got to do this, they've got to do that, just like anyone else. So the glass ceiling was there, the stamp, was there that, what, this far, you can't go far until you've done A, B, and C. And that doing A, B, and C, no one is going to do it. You've got to do that. Someone must give you a space for you to blossom. So that's what I would say. And I get different things. Talking about, as a female, some people think, okay, you know what? You are writing because you are lonely. You are writing maybe because you are bored. You are writing, different things. People would say different things. They don't expect you to write. They don't expect, maybe this mindset that, women loves petty things, just perfumes and fashions. So they don't expect, women to use, their brain, or either they don't expect women to use their brain, or maybe intimidated by intellectuals that are females. Yeah.
Totally, but I think you did a great job in this book, especially through the character of Lara, who finds her strength and her voice through the story, and who's quite interesting because she doesn't come to the migrant story with the same sort of blind faith that it'll be okay, but she actually manages to really pivot well and to rise up to the challenges. So, if any of you are looking at your life and finding yourself in a different situation, things haven't gone the way that you want them to, but you are pursuing a dream and a destiny. I think this book is interesting in terms of just showing what that can look like and the pleasant surprises that come along the way, as well as being very honest about the challenges, the very real challenges and disappointments, and sometimes even the ways we can disappoint ourselves along the way. So thank you very much for that gift in terms of the book of Life in the Brodie. And if you would like to get a copy of that book, please definitely look that up on Amazon. It is a very affordable price on Kindle. And Olivia's other book is also up there on Amazon as well. And I would suggest you get both of them and do yourself a favor and just equip yourself and empower yourself in terms of just the migration story throughout history, which Olivia does a very good job of in Globalization, Human Security and Social Inclusion, and really understand for yourself some of the things and issues that come up in the story of Akon and Lara and the people that they bring to us in their story, both in Nigeria and also abroad. So thank you very much for this interview, Olivia, and for sharing what is on your heart and your experience with us. We are signing off this week from the book club, and we are looking forward to next week's interview, where we will continue with our theme in Women's Month of Dreams and what that looks like. So last week we talked about dreams in Zimbabwe. This week we talked about dreams within the globalization story, especially in terms of the migration prospects and the promise that that holds for different people, and how dreams may not certainly come true in the way people expect, but dreams can be reimagined and re-envisioned if we've got the strength of character to forgive and the faith to keep moving forward. So thank you very much, Olivia, for joining us. And we will be back here same time again, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Good night.
Yeah, thank you, Selina. Thank you.